The sky had not been blue for weeks. It hung heavy with the dull gray of orbiting alien cruisers, a reminder that Earth was no longer just a home. It was occupied territory. The invaders hadn't come with fanfare or diplomacy. They arrived in silence, with engines that hummed low like the warning growl of a predator. The first ships were cloaked, undetectable to all but the most advanced instruments. By the time world leaders saw them, it was too late. Major cities had already been crushed beneath precision orbital strikes. Resistance had crumbled before it began. Commander Raheel Khan stood on the edge of a ruined building in what was once central Karachi. His boots crunched over glass and twisted steel. He held no illusion of victory, only survival. The Galactic Confederacy had underestimated humans, but not enough to hand them a win. Their soldiers, 8 feet tall, with chrome-blue exoskeletons and advanced neural-linked weaponry, marched through human settlements like gods among ants. They didn't even acknowledge gunfire anymore. Human bullets bounced off their armor like raindrops on a warship. Raheel lit a cigarette with shaking hands, the tip glowing faintly against the dusk. He wasn't supposed to smoke. Orders had forbidden it. Infrared exposure risk, they said, but rules didn't matter much anymore. His squad was down to 17 men, scattered across ruined blocks, acting as messengers more than soldiers. What they lacked in strength, they made up for in silence. And in that silence, something old had awakened. "Any word from Ghost Unit?" he asked, not turning as Lieutenant Zara approached behind him. Her uniform was as worn as his, stained with ash and months of bloodless retreat. "Nothing," she replied, eyes scanning the street below. "But command still isn't marked as active. Either they're alive or no one's found the bodies." He nodded slowly. Ghost Unit was one of the few sniper teams Earth still had in the field, operating independently. Disconnected from satellites and command hubs, they were shadows among ruins. No confirmed kills, no signals. Just silence. The aliens didn't even bother tracking them. In every intercepted transmission from the invaders, humans were classified as pre-technological threat level, meaning their long-range capabilities were considered null. Sniper rifles, to them, were obsolete relics, something fit for a museum, not a battlefield. Arrogance. It poured off the Confederacy like oil. Their weapons cut through tanks. Their drones patrolled with predictive AI that could intercept a missile mid-flight. Yet they never once considered that a man lying still for 12 hours in the dirt, waiting for one clean shot, might be more dangerous than 1,000 drones. Raheel inhaled deeply, watching the cruisers drift above like lazy predators. "They think they've already won," he said. "They have," Zara murmured. "At least on paper." He gave her a tired smile. "Paper's flammable." She didn't smile back. Far to the west, a distant rumble broke the silence, low, like a storm muttering in its sleep. Both officers looked up. A small streak of flame spiraled downward from the clouds, trailing smoke like a falling star. Another human satellite, perhaps, or one of the last orbital platforms being dismantled. The aliens dismantled Earth piece by piece, never in a rush. This was not just conquest, it was erosion, a slow drowning. Raheel turned back inside, down the crumbling stairs of what passed as a command center, a cracked table, a static-filled radio, and maps that no longer meant anything. Red dots marked former bases. Now, they were only graveyards. As he sat, Zara handed him the latest intel. Scratch notes from field scouts. Nothing digital. Digital could be tracked. Paper and ink, however primitive, still had their uses. A red mark circled a location in Central Europe. It was a 4th report from that region in as many days. Alien officers dead, 3 of them, all high-ranking, all shot in the eye through visors supposedly unbreakable. No explosions, no witnesses, just bodies found at shift change, stone cold. Raheel tapped the paper. This could be them. Zara's eyes flickered. Ghost Unit, or someone like them. He leaned back. They're starting to notice. A knock at the doorway made them both reach instinctively for weapons, but it was only Corporal Donish. Young, sunburnt, eyes wide with a mix of hope and disbelief. "Sir," he said breathlessly, "Command just sent a secure message. We have visual confirmation. A kill. Sniper hit. Officer class. No tech signature. Raheel stood. From who? Unit designation. Shadow 9. He looked at Zara, pulse ticking louder than the distant thunder of alien machinery. Shadow 9 was silent for 3 months. Presumed dead. Or worse. Where? Zara asked. Poland. Abandoned rail line. Wind crossed 8 miles per hour. Target was moving. Raheel smiled. Not out of joy, but something darker. Satisfaction, maybe. The first crack in the armor. Did they find the shooter? No, sir. They searched the whole sector. No heat signatures. No footprints. Just one casing. Zara folded her arms. They'll start paying attention now. Raheel shook his head. Not yet. Not until we make them afraid. For a long moment, none of them spoke. Outside, the alien ships hummed overhead, bathing the ruins in their cold blue glow. But down here, in these shadows, beneath the radar, something moved. Something human. Something patient. Raheel reached for the old radio, the one they only used when it mattered. He turned the dial slowly until the frequency aligned, one known only to those who needed to hear it. He pressed the transmit button. His voice was low, steady. Silent rain. Confirm active. Target protocol. Open season. Then he let go and the static returned. Somewhere, far away, a man wrapped in camouflage adjusted his scope. A woman steadied her breath behind a broken chimney. Fingers tightened on triggers. And though the galaxy above remained blind to it, Earth had just exhaled. And in that breath, war began again. The snow fell in a hush, softening the broken landscape like a whispered apology. Beneath it, nestled in the skeletal remains of a forgotten rail yard, 2 figures lay prone in the frost. They didn't move, not even to breathe visibly. Ghost and Shadow, names whispered like myth back in command, were less like soldiers and more like memories stitched into the earth. Ghost, real name Ilya Morozov, peered to the scope of a heavily modified rifle older than the invasion itself. Its barrel was wrapped in cloth to hide the glint. Its stock was splintered, but it was accurate, reliable, the kind of weapon you trusted not because of its design, but because it never lied. Shadow, one Sergeant Eva Zielinska, tracked wind speeds with a scrap of ribbon tied to a rusted pipe. The flutter was faint, 3 knots per second. She wrote it down in her small black notebook, every condition logged with obsessive precision. Eva didn't believe in luck. She believed in math, in wind resistance, in muscle memory, in control. They had waited here for 2 days, hidden beneath snow-dusted tarp and ruin. Their target moved only once in that time, an alien officer in iridescent armor, overseeing a convoy checkpoint along a cracked highway. Tall, elegant, aloof. No helmet, no care. Ilya whispered, barely a breath. 90 meters, still no shield flare. Eva adjusted her spotting scope. Confirmed. He's confident. Arrogant. Same thing, she said. Then after a pause, you're taking the shot. Ilya blinked once. She never gave orders unless the outcome was certain. He adjusted the rifle, aligning the reticle just above the target's left eye. The alien skin shimmered like molten silver, pupils vertical slits under ridged brows. An ornate crest glowed faintly on his chest. Command rank. Not the kind of creature that walked alone. But today it did. Winds shifted. Eva murmured. Minus 0.3. Hold 2 millimeters left. Ilya breathed in. Counted. Released. The trigger moved as if part of his body. There was no report. No thunder. The suppressor reduced the sound to a thud softer than a book dropping on carpet. But the effect was biblical. The officer's skull snapped back. A neat hole opened between his eyes. For a moment, he just stood there, as if puzzled by the betrayal of his own biology. Then he collapsed, graceful and final, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Eva whispered, impact confirmed. No alarms. Not yet. They slid back slowly, careful not to disturb even the snow. Their retreat was a silent ballet, rehearsed 1,000 times. By the time the alien patrols arrived, screaming in their own static tongue, The snipers were a rumor carried by the wind. Hours later, inside a mobile analysis unit buried beneath a warehouse in Berlin, the Confederacy's tactical intelligence grid ran the data 100 times. The officer's vitals flatlined at 16:03 Universal Time Coordinated. There were no energy readings, no heat bloom, no electromagnetic spike. The AI flagged it as a mechanical failure, possibly a microfracture in the cranial armor. Suggests suit recalibration. No further threat analysis required. But the foot soldiers whispered. They told each other about the commander who had dropped like a puppet. No warning, no visible wound until you looked close. So close you could see the human-shaped hole in perfection. Word spread with a speed even algorithms couldn't contain. A few began to wear helmets again, just in case. The second shot came 3 days later. Southern Turkey. Another officer. Same precision, same silence. This one was mid-conference, surrounded by lesser ranks. He died mid-sentence, collapsed across a table of glowing charts. No blast, no projectile trail, no origin point. Just death, served cold. By the fifth confirmed hit, the Confederacy AI reclassified its initial reports. There was a pattern. Trajectory suggested kinetic projectiles, non-energy based. Probable terrestrial source. Potential threat. Minimal but unpredictable. Advisory issued to command staff. Remain under shield or in mobile escort units until further study. Reinforce atmospheric scans in rural sectors. Still, no formal change in doctrine. No retaliation. Because they did not believe. Back in Karachi, Raheel stood before a map peppered with red circles. Zara leaned over the table, eyes narrowed at the latest pattern. 5 officers, 5 nations, all high-value targets, all killed by rifles the aliens deemed obsolete. They'll adapt soon, Zara said. Let them, Raheel replied. Every day they don't is another shot we get. She hesitated. We still don't know how many are out there. How many snipers even survived? He tapped the map. Enough. In a bunker somewhere near the Arctic Circle, a transmission crackled to life. It was a burst pulse signal, old-school military code, not sent digitally, but in tonal bursts that could hide in the ambient hum of radio noise. The message was short, 6 silent, eyes open, targets wide. Command decoded it. 6 active sniper units, all operating without support, all killing, none caught, and still not a single confirmed visual on any of them, not even by drones. The Confederacy's silence began to stretch too thin. In their language, silence was assumed to mean submission. It was a fundamental flaw in their doctrine, a blind spot shaped by centuries of technological arrogance. But the humans weren't silent because they feared. They were silent because they were aiming. On a barren rooftop in the Balkans, Ilya cleaned his rifle by moonlight, hands steady. Eva watched the stars, tracking patterns. She noted the new satellite paths, guessing which ones were alien surveillance. Below, another convoy passed through the valley, armored walkers lit with ultraviolet pulses. They moved like titans, their steps shaking the snow off trees. Eva didn't look down. We'll need to move in 12 hours, she said. Ilya nodded. Target. She passed him a torn piece of paper. A printed face, alien and sharp. He looked at it, then folded it neatly. They had work to do. The city of Prague burned slow, like an ember unwilling to die. Smoke wound its way through half-collapsed towers and blackened cathedrals, but the fires no longer roared. They smoldered, angry, patient. Above, alien patrols moved in precise geometric paths, monitored by drifting drones that blinked with sapphire light. Yet none of that stopped a bullet that killed Sub-Commander Elvan as he stepped from his dropship. There was no ceremony in death. No energy burst. No warning ripple in the fabric of the sky. Just a click of bone, a spray of brain, and silence reclaiming its territory. Miles away, in the hushed sanctuary of an abandoned observatory, Raheel studied the footage. The kill had come from a tree-lean 1.3 kilometers distant. Wind, negligible. Elevation, uphill. Margin of error, less than a fingernail. The camera didn't catch the shooter. It never did. Only the result. Zara entered with new reports. her boots muffled against the stone floor. "Two more last night," she said. "Algiers and Kazakhstan. Identical methods." Raheel didn't look up. "Confirmed kills?" "Confirmed. Officers only. Always the ones giving orders." He exhaled. "Their hunting command structure." "It's working," Zara said, placing a coded sheet on the desk. "Command latency across sectors is up 40%. The aliens are rerouting leadership through orbit. They're scared to be on the ground." She gave a small nod. They should be. The movement had grown beyond them. What began as a last-ditch deployment of scattered sniper units had transformed into a campaign, a method, a war fought with time, distance, and quiet fury. Earth's remaining resistance cells, once fractured and desperate, now waited for reports. Each new kill was a whisper of hope, a reminder that even gods could bleed. They were calling them the ghosts of gravity now, not just in soldier slang, but in the intercepted alien transmissions. Raheel had seen the logs. Confederacy commanders speculated about cloaking devices, energy disruptors, quantum phase rifles. They couldn't accept that what hunted them was human, that it was a woman breathing slow in the dirt, a man wrapped in burlap on a hillside, a finger tightening on a steel trigger. Zara handed him a small holotab. The display blinked with compiled data. 12 units confirmed. 16 more suspected. Independent, without central control. Some were former soldiers. Some had once been hunters, biathlon athletes, or just survivalists. But now they were something else. Ilya and Eva? Raheel asked. Still active. Last seen near Oslo. Picked off a scout team before vanishing again. They're running low on ammo. We all are. The war had changed. No more battles. No more tank lines or artillery duels. Now, it was death dealt in single shots, with days of crawling just to press a trigger once. The ghosts knew that every bullet mattered, so they chose their targets like chess pieces. Officers, engineers, communication relays. Never foot soldiers. Never civilians. It wasn't just warfare. It was psychological annihilation. In alien camps, paranoia bloomed. Junior officers refused to walk in open areas. Many now deployed decoys, robotic clones, hollow dummies in full regalia. But the ghosts learned quickly. They could smell the metal in a fake, sense the stiffness of gait through a scope. The dummies lived. The real ones did not. In New Mexico, a sniper known only as Ash dropped 3 officers in the same day from atop a rusted water tower. He left behind no tracks. In Mongolia, a local woman, Sarin, had taken out a convoy by targeting only its lead and final vehicles, trapping the rest in a kill zone where nature did the rest. They weren't just killers. They were tacticians, symbols, and that made them dangerous in a way no weapon ever could be. In a recent broadcast, scrambled, broken, desperate, an alien field captain pleaded for orbital extraction. "They are not predictable," he said in his static-laced tongue. "They do not seek territory. They do not engage. They vanish. They are wind with teeth." On the ground, however, not every shot ended with clean escape. Raheel had seen the footage from the Italian Alps. A sniper team of 3, call signs Glass, Ember, and Roach, had executed a perfect strike on a mobile comms vehicle, but they were trapped on exfil. Drones descended in waves. Roach died shielding the others. Ember was taken. Glass self-terminated before capture. The aliens recovered no intel. Only silence once again. Their sacrifice bought 3 days of disrupted communication in Sector 12, enough for a supply drop to get through. Enough to save a resistance town that would have otherwise burned. Zara said little that night. Raheel said even less. They knew the cost. That was the part no one ever saw. The waiting, the isolation, the constant hunger, the fear of frostbite, infection, or worse, discovery. Most ghosts would never see the people they protected, never hear the thanks. They were phantoms on purpose, and phantoms died alone. But the effect was undeniable. The aliens had started deploying portable jammers. Even that was a victory. Every jammer meant 1 less field scanner, 1 less drone net. They were being stretched, reacting, forced to defend instead of dominate. And it was only the beginning. Raheel touched the screen again, freezing the frame at the exact moment the Prague officer fell. Behind him, alien guards flinched too late, their movements jerky, surprised. He zoomed in, slow. There, just for a second. In the distant tree-line, motion blur, faint and ghost-like. A shape. Could have been anything. But he smiled anyway, because even shadows leave footprints. And this war, quiet as it was, had found its rhythm. Night in Oslo felt like ink, thick and absolute, drowning the city in silence broken only by the wind whispering through broken glass and rusted beams. On the rooftop of a shattered museum, Eva lay flat beneath a veil of thermal-cloaking tarp, her breath measured, heartbeat steady. Beside her, Ilya adjusted the scope of his rifle with the care of a craftsman, his fingers moving like they'd memorized the ritual 1,000 times. They had been here for 46 hours, watching, waiting. The alien convoy was late. Below them, the boulevard had once been a line of culture, bookstores, cafes, the hum of life. Now it served as a landing strip for Confederacy transports. The aliens had built towers of light, monoliths glowing like sterile stars. They called this zone purified. Ilya called it scarred. Weather shift in 40, Eva whispered, eyes on the clouds. We'll lose line of sight. Ilya didn't answer. He'd already accounted for the drift. Instead, he focused on the center of the courtyard where a single figure had emerged. Tall, armored in polished obsidian. No helmet. That told them everything they needed to know. Target. Commander class. Biological designation. Ryan Call. Directly responsible for the purge of Ankara. Over 300,000 human deaths. Eva checked the wind once more. You want the shot? Ilya stared through the scope, watching the alien converse with a subordinate. Calm. Unhurried. No, he murmured. This one's yours. Eva's breath hitched once. Then she shifted, taking his place at the rifle. The cold metal welcomed her cheek as she settled into position, aligning the reticle just above Ryan Call's third eye ridge. She didn't hate him. Hate clouded the shot. What she felt was something colder, an ancient mathematical justice, an equation written in blood. The wind kissed the side of her face. She fired. The round exited the suppressor like a whisper. Ryan Call dropped instantly, his body crumpling as if some unseen wire had snapped. The subordinate reached out, confused, then screamed in his native tongue. Chaos bloomed. Sirens howled. Drones surged upward like hornets, scanning, searching. But the ghosts were already gone. By the time the drone swept the rooftop, there was only wind and shadow. Far beneath the city, inside an abandoned train tunnel masked by decades of debris, Ilya and Eva emerged into a dim, flickering light. Resistance techs glanced up briefly, nodding with unspoken reverence. These weren't legends anymore. These were their scalpel in a world that had no sword. Raheel waited by the map table, Zara at his side. She was marking coordinates in red ink. Oslo, he asked. Eva handed over the recorder chip. Confirmed. 1 round. Clean. Raheel slid it into the processor. The screen blinked. Stats uploaded. A nude on the map turned black. Another name erased from the Confederacy's command chain. Zara leaned in. You've made the top of their list. Eva shrugged. We were always there. But they all felt it, that strange pressure in the air. The weight of something about this shift. Raheel exhaled slowly. They're preparing a counterstrike. How big? Ilya asked. Big enough they stopped hiding the orbital movements. New dropships arriving en masse. Not patrols, enforcement. It's a sweep. They're hunting ghosts, Zara said. Systematically. Full net. They'll deploy psychic locators, atmospheric sniffers, maybe even thermal echoes. Eva pulled off her gloves, revealing bruised fingers. Then we stop being ghosts. Ilya looked at her. You want to go loud? No. Just seen. Just once. Raheel's eyes narrowed. Explain. She pointed to the map. They think we hide because we're weak. Because we can't fight them head on. But if we show them we choose this form of war, not because we must, but because it breaks them, we take their fear and make it panic. Zara hesitated. You're talking about a strike in daylight. In front of them all, Eva said. No shadows, no vanishing, just a rifle, the bullet, and the look on their face when they realize we're not ghosts, we're executioners. Raheel weighed the silence. The risk was incalculable, but so was the reward. Where? He asked. Ilya tapped the edge of the table. Zurich, he said. Confederacy Summit. Tomorrow, 10 high-ranking officers. Zara blinked. That's suicide. Only if we miss, Eva replied. Preparations were minimal. 2 rifles, 1 exit path. No backup, no second chances. They moved through underground routes, past sleeping resistance camps and old-world ruins. Every step was memorized, every breath measured. When they emerged in Zurich, the morning sky was pale and wet. Clouds curled low over glass spires and alien banners. The square below teemed with guards and advisors. The summit platform sat in the open, an act of dominance. The aliens didn't expect threats anymore. Not here, not in the heart of their new empire. Ilya set the rifle on a maintenance girder 4 blocks away. Eva adjusted the scope. They counted the heartbeats. Then she saw him, Commander Vosen, the Confederacy's strategic executor. He stepped to the podium, flanked by armor. He began to speak. Ilya nodded once. Eva exhaled. The shot cracked like a bell, unfiltered, unsilenced, ringing through the air with finality. Vosen's head snapped back, his body folding to the ground as screams rose. The world paused. Cameras caught the fall. Drones rose late. Eva stood, in the open, rifle at her side. She didn't run. She didn't hide. For the first time, a ghost was seen. And in that heartbeat, across every screen, every ship, every command node, a realization took root. Earth wasn't broken. It was waiting, and now it was waking up.